Okay, gonna start? You ready?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, Sarge, I have to tell you, I was there last night in Las Olas and listened to the Megillah reading, which the rabbi did at super speed. I love that rabbi now. And then you came on, and I was so shocked. I mean, I've heard about you before, but I haven't really seen your stuff. And when I saw you, I'm like, I used to be friends with Jackie Mason, and then I saw you, I'm like, wow. It's like I saw so much of you, how you connect and how you really know your audience and the Jewish people and whatever. So you really are amazing. And I have you here today only because I need dating advice. And usually I wear this on first dates. And I just wanted to know what you thought. The tiara and the whole thing. I can't figure out why I'm not meeting anybody. Can you give me some advice?
Well, I think the crown and the glass of wine.
It's not big. It's not big enough.
Well, no, I think you might want to kind of back off a little of your royal background first, and let people have a chance to get to meet who you really are instead of who.
You mean the bling and all?
Well, no, I'm just talking about the crown. The bling is fine.
We're going to start with the crown.
I think you're pretty enough to supersede the bling. But if I met you and we were maybe going on I would wonder where your security team was. Like, how come this royalty is walking around without any bodyguards? I'd be concerned. And then I'd instantaneously know that you were just nuts, maybe. I would think she's just nuts. She's nuts.
Thank God it's Purim and I can get away with being nuts once a year. And I promise you, I do not wear this on the blind date. But do you have anything to say about singles today? Because it's so hard to meet people. What are your thoughts?
I think that God is more important today than ever before, because the way people have chosen to abbreviate the search process by using technology. I mean, I know that, the younger people are using phones to find out who's around. They look at their phone and they swipe and they swipe and they swipe and they look, oh, look, there's somebody, I got to go. There's somebody at Starbucks that wants to jump into bed with me, and it's like, whatever happened to getting to know people? Whatever happened to people getting set up? Whatever happened to people introducing you to people? So I think today being single, although I'm envious sometimes of people that are single just because of, the freedom.
Don't tell your wife you don't let her see this video.
I know my wife is envious of people who are single. I know that for a fact. But no, I'm only envious because sometimes you see people out for the evening. Like last night after our event at the Las Olas Jewish Center, I was driving back up Las Olas to get over to 95 to go home, and I saw all these places that were just packed with people having a good time. And if you're married, you're not out hanging around on Las Olas until 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. You're usually, 8 o'clock, falling asleep in a chair somewhere. So it's really funny how I was really taken by all the people that were out. It was like, they looked like they were having such a good time.
Yeah, because of you. Sorry to blame you for that fact.
Well,
you mean at the Las Olas Center? Or elsewhere?
No, I mean in all of the places that were still open at 11 o'clock last night. I saw all those people, and when you're married and you're going home to go to bed from a job, let's say, like a show, you see all those people, and it looks like, God, I'd love to just stop in and hang out, and I don't drink, I don't party.
That's an interesting story, because you're a comedian, you're so lighthearted, but you did not have an easy past. And you kind of quit drinking cold turkey, right?
Well, I went to rehab, and I was encouraged. And I was encouraged when I got to rehab. I had already been homeless 9 months at that point, and I got to rehab, and they encouraged me to pray it away, which sounds kind of silly or kind of light-handed. But I got to treatment, and a gentleman met me at the door, and he said, what have you been doing? And I said, I've been smoking crack. I've been using angel dust, PCP. I've been drinking. And he says, how long? And I said, about 10 years. And I've been homeless on the streets about 9 months. And he said, okay, well, why don't you go in the other room and ask God to remove the obsession to drink and drug from your life? So I said, okay. He says, and I'll go through your bag. I had one bag. when I got to rehab, I had a trash bag, but not the one from the kitchen, one from a bathroom trash bag. That's what I showed up at rehab with. I flew down to Florida from New York City in the middle of winter, December 26th, 1990. I flew down. The guy said, go pray. So I went and prayed, and I came out, and he said, did you do it? And I said, yes. He says, okay, come on, let's go to your room. And he put me in my room, and I woke up the next morning, and I don't know, it's almost like a spell had been broken. I was not on any detox medications. In those days, they didn't have too many detoxes. You showed up at a treatment center, and then they started to treat you. And so the first treatment was a prayer. And the next day, I woke up and I never took another drink or a drug after that again. And I've been clean and sober since December 26, 1990, and it's 2023, so you can do the math.
Wow, hey, don't tell me about math, because I can't do it unless my 32. Fingers are involved. But it's an incredible story. And 32, you know what 32 is in Hebrew, right? In Gematria, it's heart. So really you invested your heart. The word lev is 32. My rabbi said that reading the Torah is God talking to us, and praying is us talking to God. And we should never underestimate the power of prayer. And I have to tell you, I've struggled with it as a Jewish woman, a religious woman. It just kind of gets in the way of my schedule. But when I did tap into prayer, I found it very powerful. And still I struggle because I'm not so disciplined. I'm more creative type, you know. You have to do things when your spirit evokes the feeling. But prayer is tremendous.
Meditation is the other powerful. Prayer is quick and easy, but meditation requires a commitment and an appointment. I think the meditation is, and to be honest, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I believe that the meditation is a far more powerful part of the processes. I think prayer can become very rote because, you know, you may pray the same prayers over and over again, or you have prayers that you have memorized, but the meditation is a very disciplined process. Now, you might say, well, you know, it's also a disciplined process to actually find the time to pray. I don't find the prayers to be as powerful as the prayerfulness. Being prayerful, to me, is actually a bigger component of it than the prayer itself. The prayer itself, it doesn't matter what prayer you pray, as long as that you do pray. And then the meditation part is really the part that changes your brain, because prayer can open more questions than it answers, but meditation is really the behavioral changer. It's the one that modifies, you know, when you think about your body, they can give you a new eye, they can give you a new lung or a new kidney, they can sew your finger back on. They can't swap out your brain. You can get a heart transplant, you can get any kind of transplant you want, a bionic leg, you can't get a new brain. So the only way to change the way your neuro complexities work is to go inward, and you're the only one that can do that. And so the self-healing part of meditation and what you choose to meditate about, and for me it's gratitude, because gratitude is an immensely powerful component and the diametric opposite to fear. And so what you find out when you are riddled with addiction is that you're suffering from 100 kinds of fear. It's ironic, though, that when I got well, the journey has been to make people happy everywhere I go. So the outgrowth of my cleanliness and sobriety has been a religious type commitment to prayer and meditation, and then as an extension of that, the ability to make people joyful in a way that's very carefree and very wonderful. And it's not ritualistic, and it's not religion, it's spiritual. And it doesn't matter whether you're Jewish or not Jewish, Gentile or Jews, people in general, whether they're at the drive-through window at Chipotle, or whether they're sitting in an audience at a Jewish center, or whether I'm at an Orthodox affair, or whether I'm at a Reformed synagogue in Pennsylvania. It doesn't make any difference. It knows no boundaries. My determination and my job and my career and my life's work since I got well has been to make people happy. So now that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, because I was always supposed to be doing this. This was a vision I had from when I was 6 years old at a place called Grossinger's in the Catskill Mountains, when my grandfather took me to see.
Sure.
So So I saw Don Rickles and I thought to myself when I was 6, I don't know what this guy's talking about, but I want to do what he does. And ultimately, I must have lost sight of that dream, because it wasn't until I got clean and sober, the 3rd day clean and sober, that I realized that's what I want to do. And ever since then, that's what I've been doing. So I think it speaks to one very important thing. You know, you hear people say, oh, well, everything happens for a reason. I don't agree. I think everything just happens. And I think the more I'm accepting of everything just happening, I can't make anything happen. The fact that I pray and meditate doesn't mean things are going to turn out a certain way. It doesn't mean I'm not going to get sick, or I'm not going to get healthy, or I'm going to be happy or sad. It doesn't mean any of that. What it means is everything just happens and I need to be ready. And a state of gratitude means I'm grateful for this conversation. I'm grateful for the people that are watching. I'm grateful for that audience last night. And the fact that I get paid to do what I do in varying degrees is just great.
It amplifies the gratitude. So I just caught something you said in the past sentence was your people, but you are half Jewish. Your mother was Jewish and your father was black, right?
Well, no, I mean, someone whose mother is all Jewish.
Right. So you just, right? You
racially, I have, I had a black father and an Orthodox Jewish mother.
How much humor was that inspired in you? I mean, there's like a million jokes there.
Well, there is, but, as we evolve as a sociological group, as society evolves, it's become interesting, because for many years, ethnic humor, for Jews, there really is no other kind of humor, if you think about it. I mean, when it comes, there's nothing better than Jewish people having fun because of our Jewishness. Our Jewishness is such fertile ground for humor that when we're together, and that's largely why the universe has bestowed upon me a preponderance of audiences and events to perform at, which are mostly Jewish. They just are, and I prefer it for the level of intelligence. Jews are almost always multilingual. They speak other languages. They're from other, but the thing about Jews that's phenomenal is that, and they can debate this if they want. They can complain about this back to you later after I'm gone. Jews are the same everywhere. We are. It doesn't matter if it's in Montreal or Toronto, or if it's in Vancouver or Scottsdale, Arizona, Palm Springs, Israel. It doesn't matter where you encounter Jews. If they speak English and they know what I'm talking about, the sense of humor, the essence of the way I go about my business, it's common thread. They're the same everywhere. We all come from the same basket of civilization, and we all came to this country in pretty much the same way back in the day. Ancestrally, right. We all came through Ellis Island. Some people went to Chicago, some people went to New Jersey, some people went to Boston, but at the end of the day, we were all the same at one point, and we just moved to other places. So I don't have to change the sensibility or the intelligence level, the intellect level of what I do, no matter where I am, because Jews are highly intelligent, highly intuitive, and love to laugh.
It shows you the power of the Torah in a way, because I think that all of Judaism obviously is based on the Torah, how powerful it is that no matter where a Jew is, there is that sameness. There's something that's feeding their personalities, their spirit, their reaction, and all their sensibilities.
Well, there's a lot of Jews that are not, and this also may be uncomfortable for people, but there's a lot of Jews that aren't influenced by the Torah. They're culturally Jewish. They're ethnically Jewish.
It's uncomfortable for Jews. If you do it right, they're uncomfortable. If you do it wrong, they're uncomfortable.
There are people that don't go to shul, but they're very well aware of the fact that God's in charge, Hashem. These are people that eat blintzes and whitefish salad, and they love bagels. And they may not go to shul very often. They may just live a very, very, very. I grew up in Long Island, in Great Neck, and then I moved to Manhattan. It's a very Jewish place. New York is very Jewish. It's got the essence of Jewish food, Jewish people. It's got every possible kind of Jew, every sect, every denomination. So I don't really discriminate, because I listen, in this world, everybody is so touchy and so sensitive. And if, another thing I love about Jews, is that most of the time we know a lot of people, don't care for us. We know this. We know people are jealous. We know people are envious of our education level or our drive, our energy, the way we are, the way we speak, the way we act, all of that. I mean, it's very ethnic. It's very Jewish, okay? And a lot of people don't like it. I find that the people that I am inspired by the most are the people that don't react to the negative people. In a lot of ways, we have a much different attitude about people that don't like us. That's their loss. Why would I waste my time? Why would I waste my time? Other ethnic groups, and I won't get specific, somebody does something anti-them, and they're marching, and they're throwing Molotov cocktails, and they're screaming and yelling, and Jews are like,
why would I blow you up, but don't tell me who it is.
Why would I even dignify that with a response? If someone's stupid, they're stupid. Let them be stupid. I can't educate them all in one conversation. So, I really believe that humor is the most cleansing, healing thing. And people who have the ability to have a sense of humor about themselves, people who don't take themselves too seriously, have the potential.
People don't wear crowns, right? When they go on a blind date.
What's that?
You mean people who don't wear a crown when they go on a blind date? No, I really don't. It's Purim, so I'm just trying to be silly.
No, Queen Esther. I get the whole Queen Esther thing, but I think that things are meant to be. They're supposed to be, and like what you saw last night, it was me being me. Before we began the podcast, you said, "Oh, well, don't make certain kinds of jokes."
Right.
That to me is a restriction or a censorship that you don't need to make. I'm not in a show situation right now, and have faith in people. I know my place. I know my position. I do what I have to do. What you didn't think about last night, and the kinds of jokes I was doing, there are no rules when I'm in that situation.
The rabbi gave now I need my drink. It's Purim. I'm going for it, darling.
The rabbi trusts me. The rabbi wouldn't have me there if he didn't trust me. Let me say something. By the time you end up at a Jewish center like that, by the time you end up in a Chabad or a shul, I do the shul down in Bal Harbor. I do a lot of different, Jewish events. By the time you're there, they've spoken to 30 other rabbis.
Oh, that's so funny, to give you the stamp of approval, right?
Yes, and so if even one of them has something to say that's a little off color, so they understand. Let me tell you something. They understand that comedy is rougher than scripture, because when you're standing there, you have to instantly cut through all the differentials and all of the people that are sitting there. Language barrier, they don't know you. This is all happening right now. You have a very tough job. It's one thing when you're reading from the Torah and people are instantaneously reverent or respectful. But
are you scared? Are you scared every time you start?
Oh, no. I've done this a million. I've won. I've been successful in that arena, in that situation, so many times. It's the same as if a really good trial attorney isn't scared about going into a courtroom. A really good surgeon is not scared to walk into the operating room. The patient may be scared. Some of the nurses may be a little queasy, but the surgeon is steady hand. And when
Can I just jump in for 1 second? Can I just jump in? Because the only reason that I said that to you when we started, I'll be very honest, rabbis can get away with a lot more. If the rabbi gives you approval, it's okay. But when you're a blonde woman in the religious world and you want to teach Torah, you want to do the right thing, there's a million critics on you. And they're just waiting to pounce. You see, I knew all along. If we followed her, so it's a self-protective mechanism, and it was nothing about your humor. It was more about, you jump on Elisa again because she's blonde.
You don't need those people. You don't need them. You don't need them.
Now we need to. We're waiting 30 years ago when had this problem.
If you're going to do humor or you're going to do other kinds of things, you're going to have to take the risk and take the chance. Nothing great is ever achieved without taking some risk. And if people are going to be overly sensitive, or people are going to be in a position where they lack evolution or where they think that there's some sort of gender differential. I mean, some people have to upgrade themselves a little bit, and they have to get into the 21st century, and they have, it's not okay to just have selective evolution. Like, oh, I'll use cell phones and technology, but I won't upgrade my thinking about different roles in life. People are evolving always and improving.
Brilliant analogy. Brilliant.
And if you're going to selectively take the ones that you agree with, but denigrate people for having spirit or energy or humor, or then you don't need followers like that. You want people who are like-minded, who will just enjoy your company and not judge. I don't need to be judged. There's only one judge, and we know who that is. So why would I allow myself to be judged by others? Equals, people, humans. There should be no judgment or critique. If you want to have an opinion, that's fine. Everyone's got an opinion. It can be, these things are very subjective, but at the same time, if you lack evolution, then you're probably not in a conversation with me. We probably won't get along. And it's okay for you to, for you to do whatever it is or hold whatever ideas you hold. That's fine. Just don't log in. It's a free world. Change the channel. There's other things you could be doing. Rather than sitting here hating me or hating you or judging or criticizing your outfit or your makeup or your height or where you're from or the way you speak or how comfortable you are or how much fun you have. Once again, I don't need to be judged. God does the judging. And if God says to me, it's time to not wake up today, then it's time to make funeral arrangements. God is the one that judges. And when I stand in front of people, I'm endorsed by God. I'm blessed by God. My health, my mental capacities, my energy, the fact that that room was packed with people last night, and every night wherever I go is packed with people, it's blessed by God. It's already been given his approval. So why do I need some limited person to tell me, oh, something you said or something you did or something that you are doesn't fit my idea of something? It's so limiting. Humor should be expansive and limitless so that people can enjoy, all the colors and all the humor. Life is so short. Why would you spend any of it judging someone else?
Maybe out of insecurity. But let me just tell you, I've always asked if God has a sense of humor, and two indications in the Torah say so. One is Pharaoh wanted to kill all the Jews, throw them in the Nile. Little did he know that the savior of the Jewish people was being reared and raised in his palace. And then now, the holiday of Purim. Again, a whole plot against the Jews to kill them, to hang them, to destroy them. And Esther was in the palace of the king. So God does have a sense of humor. And just when you think you have to look outward for a savior, sometimes you have to look deep within to find it.
Sure. And sometimes man is the evil entity and God is not involved in any way, shape, or form. Sometimes God is just there for you on the other side of the circumstance to
Where was he in your life? Where was he in your life when you were under the bridge to now? Where was God?
Well, I mean, I'm a realist and a traditionalist, and I believe that if things aren't supposed to be, then they aren't, and if things are supposed to be, then they are. So to make it much simpler, I don't question, why the sun is out. Whether it's cloudy or not, I know the sun is still there because the sun is supposed to be there, because the sun has always been there, because the sun is 97 million miles away and it's exactly the right distance from this particular planet so that things can grow here. And I know that zebras stay with zebras and giraffes stay with giraffes and dolphins swim with dolphins. There's an order, there's a natural order to the universe. That's all in order. And the only time it gets out of order is when people start to have other ideas about that. People are the only things on earth that have a problem with the natural order of the universe. When a zebra is killed by a lion in African tundra and the lions are eating a zebra, the zebras just go away to another field. They don't have a support group. They don't hold hooves and stand in a circle and sing, comfortable songs to make them feel better. They accept the natural order of things in the universe, that some of us are going to be food this year and some of us are going to move to a better grazing area. And that's it. It's not an emotional thing. It's not oh my God, did you see what happened to Lenny? I can't. Zebras don't get PTSD. Did you ever notice that when you see those cheetahs that are hunting these beautiful cats, they don't stretch before they run after something. They just see something and they're hungry. They get up and they go. People are you go to the gym. There's whole areas where people are stretching and pulling and don't do any stretching. I mean, my dog gets off the couch. He stretches a leg and then he gets up. He goes and has a drink. The point I'm making is there's a natural order to things. And I really, I tried to be in alignment in the universe, someplace between the sun and me. There's God for me. And he saw fit in the natural order of things to put me in a position to not be too famous, to not be too successful, because those are earthly definitions. There are people that make a lot more money than I. There are people that are much more famous than me. But then who's going to do the Jewish Center last night? And who's going to be at a Suda tonight, in Boca Raton? And who's going to be in New York for 5 nights in May? So I won't be at Radio City. I won't be at Caesar's Palace. I'll be all the other places where, you know what I'm saying?
But you never know. You just might be.
But in show business, there's a hierarchy. In other words, everybody's shooting to be a big success. Like you mentioned Jackie Mason earlier. Jackie Mason was a tremendous success eventually, but because of one misunderstanding in the late 60s, Jackie Mason had to slug it out in the trenches. And the interesting thing about Jackie Mason, you mentioned him earlier, is that Jackie Mason may have been the singularly most gifted comic of all time and doesn't get the credit for that. When you saw Jackie Mason in the 60s on the Ed Sullivan Show before he was banned, he was a lightning fast. It was impossible to even follow him. He was so fast and funny and money. Before he had the crazy hair, he had his hair slicked back. He was wearing more conformist type clothing. He looked like a young version of Lenny Bruce, and he was brilliantly funny. And it wasn't until he added the extra, they talk like this, I'm coming over here, I'm coming over there, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm putting on pants, I wear these pants all the time, I never sit down in these pants, I always stand up in these pants, I have never sat down in these pants. Like when he put on all that extra bickering, it's when he really identified who he was, he identified his best customer, and then went out into the world. And even though the world is so anti-Semitic in so many ways, Jackie Mason was a big hit in Europe. Is there a more goyish a place than London? And the biggest chicks in the universe was sitting on the throne when Jackie Mason went over there. And yet that character, that personality, that brilliance, he had to wait 40 years until the fog lifted of the mistake that was made on his behalf. How he didn't lose his mind, I don't know. There's differing reports as to his demeanor and his personality. But at the end of the day, God used him to show people that we're funny. We can all take credit for that. It's almost like, Jews are funny. Jews invented comedy. We invented comedy. We invented it.
Can I ask you, who else can you imitate? Who else can you do for me?
I don't do impressions.
Oh, you don't? Okay. Well, you did Jackie really good.
I could get a tiara. I can get a tiara. All comics are mimics.
Actually, it's giving me a headache. The weight of the crown is too heavy for me. I'm getting a freaking headache.
The weight of the crown. Uneasy lies the head that wears the crown.
No, it is not.
Even on Purim. No, I just think that the essence of it is, and I'll give you a perfect example of last night. I was going through the whole show, and then I told a joke about a racist guy, and it got nothing. No one knew what I was talking about. They didn't get the joke.
That's to explain. I noticed you had to explain a little.
But they still didn't get it, though. But the funny part of the joke was, there's a black guy, a Mexican guy, and a Jewish guy, and a racist guy sitting on a bench. And so a genie comes along and gives them all a wish, one wish. And he asks the Mexican guy, what's your wish? He says that all of my Mexican brothers and me would go back to Mexico. And then he asks the Jewish guy, what about you? I wish all me and my Jewish friends would all go to Israel. And the black guy, I wish all the black people, we would go back to Africa. And the genie says, I will grant all of your wishes. Now you, the racist, what would you like? And he says, I'd like a Diet Coke. People didn't get it. But the point of it is, Jews are all going to Israel, back to Israel. The Mexicans are all going back to Mexico. The blacks are all going back to Africa. So when he asked the racist, what do you want? All of those were all his wishes. Them all to go back.
It's as deep, yeah, it's deep as it goes.
See what I mean? But people just like, it's funny. All night they laugh, and then not lose your confidence. The joke didn't get one laugh, and then I moved directly back into having some fun with the rabbi about, his Evelyn Wood speed reading course. Well, I don't know what the determination was to do the Megillah as fast as possible.
I've never seen anything so fast in my whole life. He's really my
It was adorable. It was adorable, though. I loved it. But what I'm saying is, it gave me humor. So guess what? I turned out of a skid and got back on the road and finished strong. And all I had to do was tell the truth, because the joke didn't go over well. I acknowledged that. I said, well, any comic can finish on a big laugh, but I like to finish on a joke that gets nothing. And then, by telling the truth, it took me to the next movement, which was to do something very, very funny about the Megillah. And people were laughing uproariously. Thank you very much. So glad you were here. Good night. God gives me the confidence to move on, even when everything doesn't go perfectly. There's always a plan B or a plan C. God gives me material right in front of me. I didn't have to look further than the rabbi that was on right before me in order to find something to have fun with. He also gave me a rabbi who has a sense of humor about himself, so he didn't get upset that I was having some fun with him. The audience loved it. I loved it. We all hugged afterwards. It went phenomenally well. It's not about perfection. It's about enjoying the imperfections.
Can you make fun of me just to give my audience something to be excited about?
I have no desire to make fun of you.
So perfect that you can't conjure the material.
I don't know what time of day. I don't know what time of day it is when people are consuming this particular podcast, but I'm wondering. You see, with your background wall over there, it just seems to me you're a little bit overdressed to be in the alley. You look like you're in an alley, and it looks like you tried on a dress and went out the back door of the store and just kept walking. So
the label
I would suggest you go back and pay for the outfit. That's what I would suggest. And suggest you go back to the store and beg for their forgiveness.
Really? And honestly, I wanted to sit down for this interview, but I knew that if I sat on that chair, it would crack the dress, so I decided to do this standing. So you see, it was standing ovation from the onset. I knew it was good when I booked you last night.
How long have you been here from Montreal?
I have been here for 7 years, but to be honest, back and forth, I have a sick mom in Canada, so I'm dancing around. Air Canada loves me.
Montreal, you go back and forth. Yeah, you can hear it in your voice. I can hear you from Montreal.
It's funny because when I'm in Canada, people say, "Oh, where are you from?" I'm like, "I'm from here." And when I'm here, they're like, "Where are you from?" I'm from Montreal.
You can always tell somebody who's from Montreal as opposed to somebody who's from Toronto. I'll be in Canada in June. I'll be there on June 16th for the Magen David Adom gala in Toronto. I'm doing their big, Magen David, Red Cross thing up there. And
so keep you closer to the date, and I will promo you big time. It'll be my pleasure. I loved you last night. You were great. I never booked somebody else.
This will be a big gala. I'll be there from the 16th to the 18th, and it's going to be at the Bellevue Manor, I think, in Toronto. And I think there are going to be a lot of people there who I before the pandemic, I was up there quite a bit. I used to come up at least once a year to do things. Never been blessed to be at the Just for Laughs Festival, but I guess that's something that's still in my future. And but in any event, I love going there, and I love being part of those galas that go on up there. There's also a wonderful organization called JAX that does wonderful stuff with Jewish kids in recovery, and it's a very, very Hamisha group, good people. Ori Goldstein and Zalman Golden. So I have a lot of buddies, and Yummy Schachter, Izzy Schachter from Charity Bids. I don't know if you know him, but Yummy's father is a very a very big rabbi up there, and Yummy has a big organization that does a lot of fantastic charity work with celebrities. Yeah, so I have a lot of buddies up north of the border there, and I love going up there. And I'm glad I'm glad they're going to allow me to come back, even though I've been such a bad American down here.
Oh, yeah. Listen, Sarge, I have to tell you that I've always said that comedians are the most brilliant people. I mean, they make us laugh, so we think they're a little lighthearted and whatever. But you proved my point that you're really so deep. I feel like I failed almost because I brought out a lot of serious in you and less comedy. But what you had to say was so poignant and so meaningful and so helpful. And I'm so grateful that you made the time, because I know how busy you are, and I'm really grateful you made time for me today.
My pleasure.
Really, thank you. I give you the final word. You could say whatever you want.
My goal in this appearance was to not ever be invited back on this podcast. So I hope I achieved my goal of not being invited back. And I don't want to take up too much space. I'd like to make room for other very talented people to be even funnier and even more brilliant than myself. So I hope this did the trick for today, and lose my number.
I'm so sorry, it ain't happening. Okay, happy Purim, the best to you and your family, from success to success, from laugh to laugh. I'm blessing you.
Thank you.
Over and out.
Be well.